Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to Chattering with Nicholas Vince. And this week I'm going to be chattering with Fabio Frizzi, who I will introduce in just a couple of moments. Before I do that, I just wanted to give a couple of shout-outs. The first one is to Matt at Monster Soap, because Matt sent me a chatter. I don't know if you can see this okay. This is a chatterer soap. It smells wonderful. It smells of cherry blossom and so on. And I don't think I'll ever use it, but it's really nice to smell. Thank you very much indeed for that, Matt. It's just gorgeous. This came up on my timeline the other day. Also going to give a shout out to a gentleman called, I've gone all out of focus. That's right, it'll find me in a moment. A gentleman called Rich Nairn, who did this wonderful caricature of me the other evening when I was at the London Horror Festival, and should shout out to everyone who's going to the London Horror Festival, seeing some great shows so far. But Rich Nairn is a caricaturist, and he's just published a book, Dr. Ripper's Fabricated Freaks, which are basically silly poems with some really quite disturbing yeah, some really silly poems with some very, very dark and really quite disturbing, with some wonderful caricature illustrations as well. So, but yeah, anyone who's going to keep an eye out for announcements. If you're in London, go to the London Horror Festival. There are some amazing shows on in there, and most of them are on for about 2 or 3 nights. So keep an eye out and make sure you support them, because they're really some great stuff. But anyway, Fabio, good evening or good afternoon. Oh no, good evening.
Good evening. We are almost the same hour, just 1 hour different.
Just 1 hour difference. So thank you so much indeed for joining me. And so we'll start. One of the things that you're going to be doing on the 29th of October is Chills in the Chills in the Chapel at Union Chapel.
Exactly.
In London. So, and you've got a very special guest joining you at that concert as well. So who's going to be joining you?
Luckily, I spoke to Catriona McCall. It was written also Catherine McCall here. She's the actress of many movies I've done with Lucio, and I told her I go back to the chapel after 3 years, and she told me I'm so happy to be with you. So what I'm going to do in the chapel the 29th. Lucio Fulci, we will speak about it after, but it's a project dedicated to Lucio, my old friend and great director. And we can say that the project started at the Union Chapel. We had a preview in Italy some months before, but in the Halloween of 2013, we were there. A great night. I couldn't believe really the love and so that I had in that situation. And after that, we are touring really with this project and other project all the world. We were in north of Europe. We were twice in the States. So we were back in London the year after at the Barbican, and so we wanted to make a little celebration after 3 years with our friends in London, and we will come from outside London.
Right.
And Catriona, no, the beautiful thing is that Catriona will be with us at the concert. She was, with many friends of us, me, you, and other friends in France. But she came the day after my concert, so she told me, "No, I want to see her." And now she comes to her town. She is from London, and she come to like I think to see her family and so. And the beautiful thing is that at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, we will be with all our friends to meet and greet, me and Catriona.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, brilliant. So 6 o'clock, that's okay. So that's a chance for everyone to meet you. Okay. So
Yeah.
I've put a link to the uh how to get tickets for the Union
Yeah.
Chapel on the YouTube on
Thank
this
you very
YouTube
much.
channel. That's my pleasure. So if people follow the link, which will be in the description below on YouTube, you can get, if you're in London, go. I've seen Fabio in concert. It's amazing. It's absolutely wonderful. I had a chance to watch the Beyond and City of the Living Dead today, and it was
Ah.
which I'd not seen before. I'd not seen
Wow.
them before, and it was great because I was watching this but listening to your music as well. And it's just like, I recognize this. I remember this from the concert. I remember this bit.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
It was great. It's very good. So, so you're at the end of October. You're in London, but at
Yeah.
the end of November,
Uh,
you're in Aberystwyth at Abertoir.
yes.
And what is it you're doing at Abertoir? But it relates to the poster behind you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Abertoir will be the last concert of the year, and it was really a great year because we were in many places, and we ended there. Abertoir, I think many people know that it's a beautiful place, Aberystwyth, and Abertoir it's a festival really well done. It's for people who know Wales. Wales it's a little outside the usual ways. I mean, it's not London, it's not Edinburgh. It's a little place with absolutely magic situation. The sea, all the what's it? Another situation where I knew that the Queen was many centuries ago went to have a vacation. So it's really a magic place about this. And there is a university where I went 3 years ago after the first Union Chapel concert to speak about zombie flesh eaters and things like that. And we fall in love with those guys. They are incredible. They run very well this festival. And last year we went to do the concert. So I told them, it's we have done everything. We cannot meet anywhere. And they told me, but you have a new project, which is the Beyond the Composer's Cut. So they asked me in the beginning of this year, can you come? The project wasn't ended in that moment. And I told them, yes, if it's okay, I will come in November. So, this is the other project that I put aside to Frizzi to Fulci. This is the beautiful, the Beyond. No? We call in Italy l'Aldilà, which is maybe one of the most loved movie of Lucio. And maybe one the most important score I've done for him, orchestra, chorus, everything. And last year we were flying in the States, and one of my musicians told me, but why don't we do something that many people do, a live score on one of these movies? And I told him, because in that moment, Lucio and other directors put not so much music on movie. So how can you stay on stage 2 hours playing a quarter of an hour? It's not logical. But he says, Riccardo says, but it's you who wrote the score, so you can do what. So I decided to try to write. To recall many of the notes that we had with Lucio. Basically, in the beginning of the project, we had 52 pieces of music. Then, in the end, the mixing, Lucio put something off because he wanted many effects. And so I recovered many of those things. I rewrote everything, and now we had also in the States the great satisfaction to let people see and hear what we have done. And I can tell you that everybody was so happy of the project. So we end in Abertoir with the last release of this year, playing the score under the movie.
Wow. So just a technical question.
Yeah.
So you've got the movie.
Yeah.
Do you still have the original score on the movie, or do you just have the dialogue for the original movie?
No, it's very, very clear. You are a man of cinema, so you know which are the problems in this case. I had a great chance. You know, maybe you know also him in person. We have a friend in LA, in Los Angeles, who is Bob Murawski. Bob Murawski is the chief of Grindhouse Releasing. It's a production that makes many CD and things, and he recovers old movies. It's a great person, great lover like you, like me, of this genre. And last year I met Bob in LA for the concert, and I told him I have this idea. When I was back in Roma, he told me I have the tracks of the mixing, of the original mixing, also without music. And this was magic, because I have in my, and I hope one day you will see, I have the mix down, a stereo mix down of voice, effect, everything, without music. So he sent me that, a miracle, you can imagine. No? And I could hear aside the original music in one track apart, and understand what I could do, and then rewrite and have the possibility to play only on the mix, the original mix, without music. So it's fantastic.
Wow. So, because the movie is just around about an hour and a half long.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
26, an hour 26.
Yeah, hour 26, something like that. So you have and do you now, obviously for people watching it, they can still hear the original dialogue.
Absolutely, in English, perfect as the original one.
Right.
But they can hear, let's say, more or less 1 hour of music nowadays.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was afraid, because everybody who loves really something maybe doesn't like to see it changed, But I did a cute operation. I mean, Lucio is away since 20 years, but my relationship with him is a nowadays relationship. I mean, the respect is total. So I didn't want to change the logic of the movie. I just wanted to maybe try to give a new reading by Fabio about the same music. There is just one more theme that it's a link between situations. It's not a new theme. It's a link. It's a musical link.
I see. It sounds really exciting. It sounds very, very exciting. So I won't. Sadly, I won't be with you in Aberystwyth, but hopefully next year you'll do it again, and I'll have a chance to come and watch. So if we go back now to you mentioned early on Frizzi to Fulci.
Bravo. It's so difficult to say.
Frizzi to Fulci. How did that? Why did you create Frizzi to Fulci?
Nick, you know that when the net was growing, because since the moment we worked together with Lucio, I had the impression that abroad there was more interest in Lucio than in Italy, because Lucio was here was considered, you know, yeah, a good a tailor, you know, but not Fellini, not Antonioni, so, and I worked with him, knowing that we in Italy we were not so loved or so estimated. No, it's incredible this, but it's like this. Low budget movies. We worked like mad to have a good product, you know, with also soundtracks. No lot of money, but I had the impression that people outside. There is a friend that now is also a Facebook friend from Chile, from Santiago in Chile. He wrote me. He's my age, more or less. He wrote me some letters then in the 70s, beginning of the 80s, telling Fabio, we love those movies, your music and so. But it was two people because the world was so huge then. Now the world is so little, no? Now you take a plane after 7 hours, you are everywhere, new friends. It's so easy. When the net began, and I am in the net since the beginning. I remember that Antonella Fulci. This is something that I never told anybody. Antonella told me, Fabio, you must enter Facebook, because Facebook it's a new link with people and so. And she helped me in the beginning to understand, you know, how to move in. I remember there was one beautiful girl from Montreal who was one of my first friend, and she writes me the day after we get friends, and she say, but you are the real Fabio Frizzi. And I say, yes, I am. I think you, you mean the man who composed some scores. And she said, but why you have got only 10 friends? Because she couldn't understand why on Facebook I had so few people. Now, okay, that's just to tell you that you understand the river of possibilities that this collaboration can give you. So in a way, I told to myself, this is like an heritage. It's like an old uncle, Lucio, for me. He went away, but he left me a great responsibility, no? Because everybody says, this collaboration is so beautiful. And I thought to myself, it could be logical to try to dedicate something to him. In my life, I've worked so much in every direction. I wrote everything, I've conducted, and so. So I thought to myself, maybe one personal thing could be good, could be right. And that I was thinking about 10 years ago. Then I tried to collect people. I wanted also to put some choreography on the show. I had many ideas. In the end, 3 years ago, I met my co-producer, Daniele De Gemini. And he's the son of one of my historical publishers. Franco De Gemini was the man with the harmonica for Morricone, the dad of Daniele. Daniele is a 43 years old man, very linked with music, and so he told me, why we can try. And I choose a great number of musicians. You have seen that they are really incredible, and the thing is started.
I see. Yeah, your musicians are great, because I've had the joy of seeing the concert where, as you mentioned, we were at Bloody Weekend.
Bloody Weekend in France.
Audincourt.
Audincourt, bravissimo.
Yeah. That's where we met Catriona.
We can also make a ciao, a hi to our friends over there, because they were really incredible. I was at home, really. Huh?
That was wonderful. The guys who looked their names are going.
Loic Bugnon.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you. But
Okay.
also, we met Jack Shoulder and John McNaughton and Graham Masterton and a whole load of wonderful people at Bloody Weekend. It really was a wonderful weekend.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Frizzi to Fulci, but please tell me now about your mentor, Tabora.
Vittorio Tabora.
Vittorio Tabora.
Vittorio Tabora. Vittorio, it's incredible that I'm talking to you from the same house. This was the house of my dad and my mom, and now I live here in Rome. And Vittorio Tabora came here because we are speaking about nowadays many schools of music. Or if you want, you go on the net and you can study everything on YouTube. You know that we are speaking about when I was. I loved music since I was really a kid. I was singing at school and so, but more or less nothing exceptional. Then I was studying swimming. I was growing as a swimmer, but growing like this. But I had some problem with I have my asthma. Maybe you know what is asthma. So my doctor says just stop for one winter, not to have a problem. And I say okay, but when you are, I was at 13, and you can have many problems when you are a little child, and my dad had this idea. He said, Fabio loves music. This can be a bad moment for him because leaving the swimming, and so I try to find a good teacher for teaching him guitar, piano. I don't know. Vittorio Tabora was a little older than my dad, so not a very young, but an incredible person. He came at home twice a week, and I started to study classical guitar. And after 1 year, I had my first bands for my first classical, because I always had both directions. Let's say the modern and the classical. Then after 2-3 years, I was 17, and I asked him, can we start studying a little composition? Because I was so, in the band, I was the chief, I was the organizer. So, for example, the voices, we were 4 voices, and I did begin to do the arrangement for voices now. And I loved the Crosby, Stills and Nash, Young, and Paul Simon, Beatles, at all, totally. And so, and we start here in the other room to play piano, to do the harmony exercise. And so, when I entered my school, my band was everyone university and other, and I lost I couldn't go ahead with this. Tabora always told me, you are too much sensible, come si dice. So he told me, the life of doing the musician is not for you, because it's very demanding. It's very, but when you have got a virus, it's difficult to live. I can tell you that after some years, when I had started my first movies, my first recording, he was very old. I went with a record, an LP, and he was crying to tell me, I'm so happy that you are. So I can tell you that linked to my dad and my mom, very often when I do shows, one moment is for Vittorio.
Okay. That's lovely. And so how did you start composing for films?
My dad, his name was Fabio Frizzi. My dad was a man of cinema. From that comes everything. Yeah, because he was he's considered, unfortunately, he went away very young. He was 60, and it was that bit because, you know, one of those problems that in 5 minutes you go away.
Yeah.
But till then, he was considered one of the most important distributors and co-producers of Italy. So many movies that also you surely could know of our production were passed through his hands. So since I was 3-4 years ago old, at home, when we had lunch or dinner, he spoke about the person, that actor, the project. So, you know, as I told you before, it's a virus. If it enters in your blood, it's over. Everything is over. So when I was 18, 19, I told to my dad, I want to be a musician, and he told me it's impossible. It's a too difficult life, and he wanted me to be a lawyer. So, end of the school, I start doing a lawyer at university in Roma, and I end the examination. But I don't want to be a lawyer because I want to try to be a musician. So let's say that with the elements that Taborra had given to me, I could have a little experience just to begin. And I met a publisher called Carlo Bixio. He was one of the most working in that moment, and he tells me, sure, he knew that I was in the field, more or less. If he could ask to a director, Fabio Frizzi, the name was a name well known in the field. So, and he offers me little jobs, little things, and I always had the attitude to learn. No, I wanted to learn. And when I was 23, there is the first movie, Amore Libero, Free Love, was not a huge movie, but something. And I was so happy. I started writing. He puts me aside a good conductor that after a couple of years will be one of the trio, Bixio, Frizzi, Tempera. The conductor was arranger, conductor was Vince Tempera. And you know, it's like when you are sailing. If you go with a great sailor, you steal the things, the idea, you know, and after maybe you can become a good sailor too.
I see. And what inspired you to get the instrument a mellotron and use it in your film scores?
Now, mellotron, you know, that was the moment of many keyboards coming. The Moog. I remember that I have somewhere a picture with Paul McCartney with the Mr. Moog, the man who with and we were crazy for bands, incredible bands, for prog, rock prog, and so. And when you hear something new, what is this? I want to do the same, you know. So I remember that the first time I want to use the mellotron, I asked the publisher that I had in that moment to rent one of them. You know, with Lucio. In Zombie, in many movies, there is the voice, the one that I call the voice of the dead, because it's like this. And but it's not only that one. I mean, mellotron. What is mellotron? You obviously know, but maybe some people don't know. Mellotron is something that comes from the head of a genius. The problem was we maybe sometimes didn't have the money to have a big orchestra. So what this genius thinks? we take the little the single notes of an orchestra, strings, chorus, flutes, and we record in one single tape. Then the tape is starts with one of the point of a keyboard. So you play a C, you play a D, and it's perfect. But it's really a tape. So the cartridge of Mellotron is something like this, with I think 10 kilos, maybe 20 kilos. And when you change from flutes to strings, you need two friends, and you play. No, it's incredible, really, really incredible. So, you know, afterwards, the technical is that you can sample a song in something very, very little. No, a sampler, it's just a memory. In that moment was a tape. So I found this really good. And I use a lot strings on Mellotron, flutes, and basically voices. And nowadays, you have seen my concert. I keep with me those 4 or 5 sounds on stage, and I play with them because I love this.
Because I've seen online on Wikipedia Mellotron, and I was trying to work out how you change the instrument. So literally, it's just a big frame.
Yeah, it's this. It's something white. No, I have one because recently, 5 or 4 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, I found the one in America, and I bought. So I've got in my studio one, but never used it, just to say I love you. Mellotron, I love you.
They were incredibly expensive for the time.
No, consider one thing, Nick. In that moment, Maurizio Guarini, other musicians with me, also Claudio Simonetti, also Fabio Pignatelli, we spent a lot of money because one keyboard like Yamaha, like Prophet, everything we use was very, very, very expensive. Sometimes we could decide to rent, but if you rent, you don't know it so well, because you must have it home, you know, you must play. But and Mellotron was there was many of them just like a house, no, like a car, like a
car, the cost of a car. Yeah. Amazing.
Grosso modo, and so very often we used to rent. Mellotron was not so difficult because Mellotron didn't have to change sounds. It was that. If you want the chorus, is that. If you want the string, so it was easy to play also if you didn't own your personal. Okay.
I see. Okay. And we've been talking about, you've mentioned Lucio Fulci. But how did you meet him?
The same publisher I was speaking before, Carlo Bixio. The trio was born. I mean, Bixio, Frizzi, Tempera. My trio was born since 1 year, 75. And Carlo told us go in that. It was a post-production studio. There is a screening of a new movie. It's a Western called I Quattro dell'Apocalisse. You will find them, the producers and the director. Okay, we go. So me, Franco, and Vincenzo, my colleague, we go there, we 3. And we see that movie. It was a pre-cut, a rough cut. And we see that it's a very beautiful movie with great actors and so on. And in the end, there is this little man I had. We were in the last line, and we said we must go to introduce ourselves. And we go there, and there was I don't know if you ever met Lucio. Did you meet? No. Lucio was Lucio. Everybody who met him. So a great personality, it's unique. If you see him in a couple of movies. Also, if he does the policeman or the bibliothèque man, but he's always Lucio. Lucio is Lucio. Not very tall, clear ideas, a little Roman, but very, very clever, and he says, I want songs, because all the movie was with Knocking on Heaven's Door by Bob Dylan, that yesterday had this great award, maybe you know. He had
yes, the Nobel Prize.
Nobel Prize. So there was, in all movie, there was a knocking on heaven's door. And I say to my friends, it's quite difficult to be at the same level of this guy. But you know, in fact, I loved that genre, that musical genre, no, the West Coast, or if you want, so the country. And then we put each other together. We wrote, I think, 5 or 6 songs, and Carlo called a big number of great instrumentalists, musicians. So the record was very, very good. Lucio was happy in the end, and from that everything started.
I see. Okay. And so we had a question come in before the show, asking what were the inspirations for the scores for Zombie, or Zombie 2, Zombie Flesh Eaters, it's variously known. And we talked about the Beyond. So what were the inspirations for the music for Zombie?
Let's say that Zombie was the first horror movie I'd ever done in my life. Was also just after the separation with my trio, which was a good separation. I mean, just I was growing. I told my friends, I'm 30 years old. I must understand if I am a musician or not. So just some months ago, I decided to be by myself. Lucio calls me and he lets me see something, you know, the eye, many very, very rough scenes. It was the first time, and I can tell you that in the beginning I didn't know what to do, because basically I feel myself like a melodic composer, and in fact also in the horror movies there is also always a little melody, you know. But in the beginning, Lucio says, we need a theme, we need a music for this. I can tell you that in that moment, I was in love with something that Mike Oldfield had written, Tubular Bells. And I still love, I have here the score, because I would like to do it with my band sooner or later. It's so beautiful that it's a real masterpiece. So, you know, which is also, I think, the inspiration of my friend's Goblin, in a way. There is another, the prog, but also these kind of things like Oldfield did. So I had also one theme that came from my trio, but I had written for something that Luigi Cozzi had done, Godzilla. So okay. I take this theme, I write something on the same model, and we start. Basically, I have two musicians all time with me. A percussionist, because you know that Zombie is in an island, the story. So very, it's something very in the forest. And Maurizio Guarini for the keyboards. And everything comes very well. And I think that maybe that the theme of Zombie maybe is the most loved by my friends and fans. You know, this one. It was a fight, because with Lucio was always a fight. but you are an actor, you are a director, you know that doing a movie is always very demanding. In the end, everybody is happy, because the project was beautiful. the movie went very well also all over the world, so it's okay. The other movie is you're asking for
The Beyond.
The Beyond. Because we can say that Zombie was the beginning. The Beyond was the huge one, no? Because we had done many things together, and maybe I wanted to demonstrate to Lucio that I could do something various with many things on. The story could help because you know, I love the story. And now I see the movie very often because we do the score on the movie, so I know every single speech. But the story is well done. It's well structured. There's a good structure, and I in that situation I call my musician of rhythmic. I mean, there is always Pignatelli. There is Agostino Marangolo, which is one of the drummer, also in the sometimes in Goblin situation. But Agostino, it's a great drummer at all. Fabio Pignatelli, and I call also an orchestra conductor, because in that moment I still I conduct, but not so much. We're talking about 35 years ago. And there is Giacomo Dell'Orso, who comes, is also a good chorus director, conductor, because he still is almost 90 now. I met him 2 weeks ago, and he still has things with chorus. He's the husband of Edda Dell'Orso, who is Edda Dell'Orso is the singer of Morricone, the famous, you know. So Giacomo comes and conducts very well, and the situation of chorus, I write okay, but he says, let's put something in the voice, let's say something. So he picks the morning we have to sing. He brings a little book with a very old situation, Dies Irae. The Dies Irae, also Mozart and other composers did something on that text. And he says, we pick a couple of phrases and we put, so cum resurget creatura, and everything was done. So very many influences, classical, modern, and so, and the mellotron is always with us.
Well, that's brilliant. That's really nice, and it also answers another question from a gentleman called Sean Robert Smith, who was interviewed on the show a couple of weeks ago. A great filmmaker, and he just wanted to say, Fabio's work has a huge impact on my own film scripts and indeed scores. I spent many years in a daze and a blur due to Fulci and Frizzi. So,
great.
And he was also asking where your inspiration comes from. So I think we've answered that.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. What was your favorite moment working with Mr. Fulci?
It's difficult to say because, you know, after all the time, but I can tell you something, let's say, more private. I can tell you that we worked a lot. Lucio always with his crew, and you know, many people have told you that he was rough. He was a great guy, but he was really always very rough. I can tell you that maybe the most interesting personal and also collaboration moment was the last one we had. After many years, many works together, we lose a little bit, and one day he calls me and he tells me, Fabio, I want to tell you something. We go to eat something together. Okay, and we go in Roma we meet again after. It's always a pleasure to meet someone you shared such a long time together. And he told me, Fabio, I have to do a movie, but there is not a big budget, and so I have no problem. I have no editor, publisher, and so. But I need a music, and I say, which is the problem? You are my friend now. We had changed completely the relationship. We were absolutely friends. So I do the music, no problem. I am the publisher. I'm everything. The movie was A Cat in the Brain. And I can tell you, it's not a movie that I love so much, but every time I do in concert and I see the behind me the images, the scenes, it's something that moves me always a lot, because it was not the best moment in Lucio life, also because he had many problems, also privately. But it is the moment he puts himself in the middle. Okay, I do that thing. The idea is not so bad, no, because it maybe is it's easy. I mean, a director who does only movies, horror, fantasy, that begins to be the bad person of his movies, and dreams everything. It's quite easy to think, but well done, and I think that it's something that could have other release, but the fact that I see Lucio, my friend, my director, who is acting himself, it's something that moves me so much, and it's among the laughing and maybe something different. So okay. I can tell you, sure, was not the best moment in our collaboration, but was the best moment in our relationship, sure.
Okay. Okay. And what was your reaction to Quentin Tarantino using part of your score for the psychic in Kill Bill?
Yeah. I was, and my friends, Franco and Vincenzo, we were absolutely without words. Now, it was not a direct relationship with Quentin, because it was my publisher who told me we had this asking from them, and we all see, and we all say, obviously, let's do it. Then we went in Roma, in the Adriano Cinema, which is in the center, for the very the screening of a presentation. And Tarantino didn't come because he said he was in London and was not so well. But there were the actress, and I can tell you that when the scene, it's an incredible scene, incredible. The hospital. I don't know if you remember where.
I've not actually seen it.
No, okay, no.
I look out for the hospital scene. Okay.
Yeah, no, the hospital scene. It's there is the actress who is almost dead, and she's in a room, and there is one of the doctors who sells her because she is beautiful. She is still beautiful. So people go there and do things with that woman, and there is one moment that you see that is again in mind. So there is the new man who arrives to do what he wants, and she does everything, and in the moment she is you see that the eyes she's alive, she's terrible, and she will kill him in a bad way. Dun, 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 dun. It's incredible. I was seated like this. No, it's important. Also, the sound was perfect, and no, it was fantastic. And I hope that we will do everything else 1,000 of times.
Right. Right. Okay. And what I think you mentioned earlier on that Mike Oldfield's
Yeah,
tubular bells inspired you. What other
yeah.
composers or artists inspire you?
I could tell you a list of thousands. No, I mean, when you become a composer, yeah, you grow and you become an old man. You listen to many things, but I think that the basic inspiration are the one you had when you were young. No, and I can tell you, for example, last week in America, I heard after a concert one theme after our concert in San Diego. They put some music from movies just for us, you know, after the concert, and I hear an incredible melody, and I almost cried, and it was something from Harry Mancini. The movie was Charade with Audrey Hepburn, 63, and I was 12. So I can tell you that I think that the basic instinctual life comes from there, and you can imagine that with my dad in the Italian cinema, and so Morricone, Rustichelli, Nino Rota. We had a great level of music when I was very young. So I think that from there came also the great inspiration. I can tell you that my first, this is also a story that I don't tell everybody. When I was 19, in the moment you were talking about before, there is the recording of Sean, you know, Morricone. My dad is friend with Sergio Leone. So I say to my dad, Papa, please ask Sergio if I can go to see the recording. And he calls Sergio, and I go to that studio while there. Imagine the shock for a young man like I. So I entered. There is Morricone. There is Nicolai who is conducting because was his conductor, and I live one situation like this. It's something that creates to you something incredible. No? You live for this after emotion like this. So I can tell you that, but everybody, obviously I love, for example, I often say about my love for Vangelis. Vangelis is a composer I love so much. Also I love the Aphrodite's Child, his group, when he played with a trio. Maybe you remember, it's 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock. And it was Vangelis.
Okay.
It's incredible. But they used to live in Paris. They were 3 young Greek musicians, and they used to live in Paris. Then Vangelis became and Blade Runner.
It's immediately I've got Blade Runner and that opening shot and the sound. Just extraordinary.
I think it's a really a masterpiece. Really, it's my movie of life, Blade Runner, and that score for me, it's really inspiring.
Okay. Well, speaking of favorite scores, one of the questions we had is, what is your all-time favorite horror score? Apart out of the thousands.
It's very difficult. No, I can say that in this case, I always go to the origin. I think that maybe one of the most beautiful movies is Psycho. And Bernard Herrmann wrote a huge score. Obviously, it's not our our kind, no, because it's very symphonic. But I think that everything starts from then, from that situation. Then days ago, in for example, in in LA, I met Joseph Bishara, who is a new young composer, very, very loved, very a great man. We are friends now, and so many people. But I love to tell Bernard Herrmann, because it was one of the first.
Right, right. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Bernard Herrmann. That's one of the, whenever I sit down to write, if I'm writing, it's one of the tracks one of the albums I will put on. I always listen to Bernard Herrmann, just particularly North by Northwest. That opening scene, absolutely amazing. Okay, now speaking practically, do you compose with a pen and paper, or sitting at a piano, or you mentioned working with other people? How do you compose?
If you want to I said the truth, the reality. I work like this. Always, obviously, something is changes because the time is coming and so. But with this, you see, this is a telephone. No, a cellular. Nowadays, in the telephone, you have also a recorder. Some year before, we had a little
little dictaphone.
Bravis dictaphone, bravissimo. My way of composing is this. I think that the basic idea must come from like that. Sometimes, and I can promise that it's true. 10, 15 years ago, a couple of times, I wake up in the morning, I have an idea. I go telling not loud because there are the babies, la, 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 la. And then I write this on that, but it's incredible. It happens, it can happen. Now, usually I take my recorder with the piano, let's say with the piano, or the guitar. The guitar, this is one of my beloved guitar. It's a Martin guitar that is always around me.
Right.
And I try to enter the notes, telling about that. But these days I'm writing for a musical, and I have the text of the scenes, and I read, and I try to enter usually at 6 o'clock in the morning, because no telephone, no baby, nobody in my studio, which is downstairs. And I go and I try and I speak with me. If you listen to the recordings, now this could be better, but this I don't like so much. But maybe change it. And I speak and I record something, ideas, phrases, and so. Afterwards, I take the paper, the pencil, with the piano, and I try to put together the ideas I did before. And so I write the lines, the harmonies, and the ideas of cutting and so. Then nowadays, when you go to do the arrangement, you go to where I see you in this moment, the computer, because we have, couple of 3, 4 kind of software who helps us very much. But writing one note after the other. I mean, not doing things like this. I think that for example, I can say the software I use is Sibelius. Sibelius is a very good software, very easy to use, and you have the orchestration ready. You can listen to the equilibrium of the sounds, and when you go to record or to rehearsal for a concert, you don't have surprises. It helps so much. But we can tell that till 15 years ago, we had another person who helped us, who was the copist.
Oh, yes.
You did the score on paper, and he did the single parts for each instrument. It was unfortunately it's a job that no more exists, more or less. But that also coping by hands, we could have many mistakes because they work at night and so. So before recording, you had to fix the mistakes. Nowadays, we go in studio, and after 5 minutes, we record the good track.
Wow. Wow,
Okay?
that's quite a change, isn't it? That really things really have going on.
Yeah,
Okay,
because you can record in half a time what you did before in a lot of time more.
Wow. Wow, everything really changed.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for up and coming composers for horror? This question was sent in by my friend Patrick Fagan, who scored my short film, The Night Whispered.
Okay.
So what's your advice for
I can tell you that it's quite difficult to express ideas, because we must be also politically correct, so it's not easy. But I can tell you something. Last year, for an interview by a newspaper from London, The Guardian, there was a weird request from that journalist, which was to examine and tell something about 4 soundtracks, and there was one very far from my way of working. You know that nowadays, 20 years ago, orchestra. Then nowadays there is also, for example, for TV movies also, very often you don't have the orchestra. You have a sensation of sound, building a sound. But there is also something more extreme, and this is a name I wrote down just not to forget, which is the case of Mica Levi. Mica Levi is a young composer, English composer. Also, if she's got a name, she could also be Italian, Mica Levi. And she did Under the Skin. This one of the movies I had to see and to judge. It's another way of doing music. It's electronical, totally electronical. Very, very difficult to judge as music, but as I always thought, it's so impressive on images. So it's a new way, maybe, to find. I would try. I would like to try once, just with electronic. Obviously, it was a movie, an action movie. So situation. But very, very interesting, and she's very young. I think she's 25, 26, and she's considered the one. And I think it's. I can tell you one thing. Everything I tell to you, I know that you know, but we are telling also to our friends.
So yes,
to the people,
absolutely.
The level of people who is doing music, also in other fields, is very high, because nowadays everybody can have informations, can study very well. When I was young, I wanted to do bossa nova, tan, tan, tan. It was impossible to find a sheet for this, because in Roma there wasn't anything. No. Nowadays you say bossa nova, everything you can study on the net. You can. So also young people who are becoming conductors, composers, have good ideas, have good possibilities. Let's say that nowadays what you must find into yourself is some personality, because the level is high, but there is also a lot of everything is the same. You understand what I mean? So if you have an idea which catches you, okay, you have won, but you must find it. Otherwise, you are in the marvelous mass of punto interrogativo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. That's great. Thank you very much. Actually, I've got 2 more questions.
Yeah.
Because there's one more come in during
Yeah,
the show.
fantastic.
And we're a little bit running over, but we'll be about another 5-10 minutes if that's okay.
So sorry, but
no,
but I can tell you that with you I could do 3 hours because I'm so well, really so well.
Thank you. This is from a gentleman called Joe.
Joe.
Is there a different mindset when composing music for different movie genre? Do you have a different way of approaching it?
Let's say that this is a very interesting question because it's something that I could ask to myself because I can tell you that from my point of view, the composer is always the same. Fabio is always Fabio. So if I have to write a song like in these days for a comedy, sing by a particular character, if I have something to write for a scene where something goes in the eye, but it's always me. I think that it's like if you have some different files in your mind, which is always your mind. So obviously the approach can be different, but your personality in a way is always the same. So maybe you can find in a score dedicated to the horror something that makes you think to a comedy that you ever heard yesterday. And I think that this is also for you, for an actor, for a director, to have the thing that I was telling before. So your personality, your kind, your way of. Obviously, the approach, the visual approach to a comedy is like this. In a score for Fulci was like this. Very different, but in a way, when you love music and you are surrounded by notes, it's always a good moment to remember.
Okay. I think that's very interesting. It just comes, at the end.
Thank you to Joe.
Thank you to Joe. That is a very interesting question. Thank you very much. Okay, so we know you're going to be doing a concert in Aberystwyth. You're going to be doing the composer's cut for the Beyond in Aberystwyth at the end of November, and you're going to be in London. And I hope to get to see. Although I'm not seeing the concert, I hope to get to see you whilst you're here. What are you working on? Anything else at the moment? What else are you doing?
Let's say about those things. There is one thing that my friends and maybe also you could be interested in. We have told about the composer's cut of the Beyond, behind me, and I think in half January we start recording that new score in my studio, just to have it for record, and maybe to do a mixing of the original movie in this other way. We have some contacts with friends that would like to do a DVD Blu-ray next year, maybe in 2018, to see what this in a way can happen to. So it's a huge project, because we also orchestra my band and the strings, flute, and other things. Then I am working on a musical for Italy that should go to Sistina. Sistina is the huge theater for musical in Roma.
Right.
Should have the first in March, 15th of March. So right. I'm starting nowadays, and obviously the concerts are my love now. So I think that we will do many other things about this.
Oh, cool. Excellent. Oh, good. Okay, so I'm going to have a chance to see you in concert again. That will be wonderful. Fabio, that's the end of my questions.
Yeah.
And before we leave, I'd just like to tell people about what's happening on this show over the next few weeks. There's no show next week because I'm going to be at a film festival called Celluloid Screams in Sheffield.
Wow.
I'm there with Katie Bonham and a short film that I star in called Mindless.
Wow.
That screening there, it's a wonderful fest. I really enjoyed Celluloid Screens. It's one of my favorite film festivals.
Okay.
So there would be no show next week, but the week after, I have a lady called Gem Carmela who's coming on the show, and she is one of the co-founders of a thing called Short-Sighted Cinema, where they specialize doing evenings of short films. They've recently, and that's in London mostly, but they take them out on tour, and they put together really, really good programs of short films. I've attended one of them, and they've got another one coming up on November 3rd, I think. And then on the 6th of November, a gentleman called Paul Davies is going to be with me talking about Beware the Moon, which is his documentary about the making of American Werewolf in London, and talking about the book version. And he's a really nice guy and very tall. He's well over 6'8". He's really tall. I talk to Paul like that whenever I meet him. He's a lovely guy. And then on the 13th of November, I'm going to be talking with Jen and Sylvia Soska, my huge friends who I just absolutely adore, those twin ladies. If you've ever, I don't know, have you heard of the Soskas?
Yeah.
They're wonderful, wonderful ladies. So I'm really looking forward to that one as well. And then I've got some other great guests coming up, which I'll be announcing over the next week or so as well, through to December. But Fabio, thank you so much.
It was a pleasure, Nicola. Whenever you want, and you have a new, your audience has one more number, me. I will follow you every week because it's very interesting, and I have to improve my English. I am still not a great level, but tonight was okay.
Oh, your English is perfect. You're absolutely superb, and very much better than my Italian. Fabio, thank you very much. I hopefully get to see you at the end of the month, and Catriona, if not at some point. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Chattering with Nicholas Vince. I've been chattering with Fabio Frizzi.
Thank you very much.
Ciao, Fabio. And I will see you all in a couple of weeks' time. Okay, and I'm going to